I better get out of here. My wife is backing up the truck because the tide is coming in, and she came running over to grab the keys saying the ocean is coming to get me. So we're going to keep this part short. My name is Thad. This is the Journey Church Online. I love how God leads us to these amazing places every week that are honestly just perfect to help us bring Jesus's message from the Sermon on the Mount to life in new and creative ways. This week, for lesson number 13, we're in a remote area of southern Alaska that is home to some pretty amazing records. First of all, it's actually the only town in southern Alaska that is accessible by boat, plane, or road, none of which are really quick or easy. It's located all the way up the rugged coastal fjord called the Portland Canal, and it happens to hold the record as the fourth longest fjord in the world. This is Hyder, Alaska, located right on the border next to its slightly bigger, but not much, little Canadian sister city of Stewart, British Columbia. And these two tiny towns really owe their existence to the early pioneers searching for precious metals to make their fortunes, which is exactly what happened. In the late 1800s, explorers made their way up this amazing fjord and began prospecting the rivers and surrounding hillsides. And it wasn't long until they found what they were looking for, and actually a lot more. Gold, silver, lead, zinc, and tungsten were all pulled out of these hills in a boom that lasted from 1920 to 1930. A time that brought people of all kinds to make their fortunes by whatever means necessary. In those early days of mining, the scale was probably the most loved and hated tool of all. The scale had the power to weigh out your gold or silver with perfect accuracy, which meant that you'd be paid properly for what you brought in. But rarely were the scales perfect in these frenzied boom towns. Gold or silver buyers would tip their scales in their own favor. They invented every way imaginable to adjust the way that a scale would balance so that they would end up buying more gold or silver for less money. And many an unsuspecting miner were cheated out of some very hard-earned wages. Well, there's nothing new under the sun, and it's certainly true when it comes to tweaking a scale to work in favor of the scale owner. This was actually the same practice that was common in the ancient world long before Jesus' time. And it was still the norm when Jesus addressed the crowd at the Sermon on the Mount. You might be able to see the truck back there in the distance, and that water you see in the distance back there is actually the very tip of that Portland Canal. We've found an old kind of gravel road that had to do a little four-wheeling to get in here, but it's taken us out to the farthest reach you can drive out towards the very tip of the canal, where we've got rivers pouring in on every side that spread out into the canal, and all around us we are surrounded by tens of thousands of seagulls and probably hundreds, if not thousands, of bald eagles and golden eagles. We'll do our best to get some awesome footage of those and share them with you as well. We're also watching some pretty cool seals coming up the brackish water in the river here nearby, doing a little fishing of their own. It's not hard to imagine why people were drawn to this beautiful, amazing place that still feels so wild and remote even today. Well, here's what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 2. He says, "Do not be judged, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure that you use, it will be measured to you. You see, Jesus starts off this lesson about judging others with something really concrete, something everybody in the ancient world was familiar with, the measuring scale. Right off, he's saying to them that the way that they think about other people actually matters. In fact, it's going to have a direct connection to how they will be judged. In other words, listen up, people. You better get your scales set properly, because if you're tipping the scale in your favor and cheating others, don't be surprised when God treats you the same way. So now that Jesus has their attention with something concrete, he goes on to make his point again, this time using hyperbole, which is just a way to say that he's about to really exaggerate things to make his point. I actually use hyperbole a lot when I talk about fish that we catch. Like, it was huge. We fought it forever. You should have felt how heavy it was. You could barely lift it. I like talking about fish, and I'm quite good at hyperbole when talking about my fishing trips. But I digress. Let's get back to Matthew. So Matthew chapter 7, verses 3 through 5 goes like this. He says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take that speck out of your eye,' when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." It would be so much easier if we actually saw people walking around with these big boards in their eyes, or maybe just a little speck of some sawdust. I think it would just be hilarious, but it would certainly be easier. It'd be a lot harder to walk up to somebody with a giant board in your eye and say, "Hey, I don't know if you noticed, you got a little splinter over there," if it was literal, which is why the exaggeration makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of ridiculous, but you get the point. Just a few minutes ago, it was sunny and beautiful, and there's eagles chirping, and there were these cool seals swimming in this little estuary here. Boy, minute by minute, the weather sure does change around here. In fact, as the tide comes in, I may be walking in water here in a minute. So I better stay on track and keep focused on the lesson at hand. This is actually still a huge problem in Christianity. There's so many people who call themselves Christians, and it's like they think they've been nominated to the plank removal committee at their church. Oh, somebody's off, somebody's in sin, somebody did the wrong thing in the sanctuary, or they drank last weekend, or they let their kids watch an R-rated movie, or maybe they're fighting with their spouse, or you pick your thing, right? There are these people that seem to just zero in on the things that you can see from the outside, and they go around like the plank police. As you can imagine, this creates all sorts of problems. Not too many people like unsolicited advice. Not too many people are keen on being told what they're doing wrong, especially when the person telling them has their own obvious boards in their eyes. Meanwhile, people outside the faith hear these stories and see these things happen, and they're saying, "What's so special about being a Christian or being a part of a church? It just looks like all the other people that I'm around." And actually, it seems maybe even worse with them. It seems like a place full of really judgmental people. At least my friends cut me some slack when I mess up. What is Jesus saying with all of this? Is he telling the Christian to never judge anybody? To never look at how somebody is behaving or talking and draw any conclusions about their heart? Is he saying ignore everything and just keep your head in the sand? That, as you could imagine, is not what this is all about. But what he is teaching is that how you handle the judgments that you make is really important. First of all, Jesus starts with a concrete example to caution us. How you judge others is how you will be judged. So before you go and talk to someone about what you see them doing wrong, you better pause and put yourself in their shoes. If you were in their situation, is what you're about to do, is that how you would want someone to treat you, to talk to you? And then his second example about specks and planks is just Jesus's way of trying to give us this vivid picture of how dumb we would look going to help somebody with something small or minor when we have these huge, obvious problems in our own lives. So it's clear Jesus is teaching that how you approach others to offer help or correction is a big deal. But it's not just how you do it. Jesus has one more point to make, and this one is all about who you try to help. In Matthew chapter 7, verse 6, he says, "Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces." Now, if you've ever been to areas like maybe a third world country where dogs run wild, fending for themselves, then you've likely seen some pretty hungry dogs. In fact, if you do try to offer them something, you might be shocked that they actually turn and growl at you or even lunge to bite you. The same sort of, all of a sudden I've developed a list. The same sort of thing. Like Elmer Fudd brings the message. Let's try that again. So the same sort of thing can happen with hungry pigs. Those were all well-known dangers to the people that Jesus was talking to. Dangers that he was reminding them about to help them keep in mind this special lesson. Be wise about who you offer to help or give advice to. Just because you see that somebody is in a mess or they're living in sin or they're struggling with the consequences or their mistakes and things, and even if you've examined your own heart and dealt with the logs in your own eyes, you still need to be wise about who you offer godly wisdom to or help to. Not everyone is eager to hear it. And the truth is, some people that you pour yourself out to and offer help to or give wisdom or support to are actually going to just turn around and growl or bite back at you. This is a lesson I've been reminded of many times as I've done ministry in my life. One time when my kids were younger, we offered to help a family that we met through our church. It was a guy and his wife and 3 little kiddos. And they stayed with us for a couple of months, including over Christmas time. Well, my kids, like a lot of kids, had received some Christmas money and they had sorted it all out into these different jars, and they were learning about tithing and saving and spending. And one day when we went to get some of their money from their jars in the kitchen, we realized everything was gone. All their money, 5 kids, all of it gone. It turned out that the guy that we were helping stole all of their money. Welcome to the consequences of not really thinking through who we were helping. How about you? Have you ever tried to help somebody with a log in your own eye or been bitten by trying to help the wrong kind of person? We would love to hear from you, to hear what God's teaching you. Be sure to drop us a comment. If you're watching this on your own, I want to encourage you to think of somebody else to invite and then go and watch this episode again with them, or maybe take them to one of the other ones you've really enjoyed. Growing as a disciple of Jesus is better with friends. So, which friend are you going to reach out to? We're sure glad you tuned in this week. Be sure to hit subscribe, and if this ministry is helping you or other people you know, please consider offering your support. It's super easy and secure, and I may get blown away. The winds are ripping. But if you want to give and help support us, just go to yourjesusjourney.com, click on the give option on top of the menu. I better get out of here. My wife is backing up the truck because the tide is coming in, and she came running over to grab the keys saying the ocean is coming to get me. So we're gonna go explore the rest of this cool little town, Hyder. We've got some other amazing videos from some glacier exploration that we did around here. So be sure to check out the rest of the videos on our channel. We're excited, and we'll see you next week from wherever we are out there. This is crazy. Like, you can't see this, and I wish I could quickly flip the camera around. I'll try and get some cool shots. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 15 golden eagles. Prior to coming here, I've probably only seen a few golden eagles in my life. And on top of that, there's probably another 20 bald eagles, all riding the wind right above and around me. It is amazing. I don't know if you can see that, but there are thousands and thousands of seagulls. The screen is completely covered in water, so I have no idea what you can see, but it is so cool. Tide's coming in, birds are excited. That means the dinner is on the way.